Hello my dear class 10 students, welcome back to our English class. And this class is going to be in continuation with our previous class, that is Grammar Worksheet 6. We have started with Grammar Worksheet 6. We have done the different types of clauses, right? We have done the noun clause, we have done the adjective clause, which also has defining and non-defining clause under them, and we have also done the adverb clause, but we could not finish the adverb clause, and so today we are going to continue with the topic that we have started. Okay, and in adverb clause we saw that an adverb clause of time will be there, clause of place will be there, clause of condition will be there, clause of contrast, clause of purpose, and then we also have adverb clause of manner, which I could not explain in the previous class. Okay, in an adverb clause of manner, we will get to know how an action is done. We have learned about when it is done, where it is done, why we have done all those things, right? But we could not do the adverb clause of manner. And in an adverb clause of manner, the group of words, that is the clause, will tell us about how an action is done. If I see a boy running, he ran as if he had seen a ghost. How did he run? As if he had seen a ghost, right? It will always answer to the question how. Like for time, it answers to the question when, place will be where, we have cause, the reason, right? Why? And so all these things come with a separate identity, which you will find it easy to identify if you really look into your textbook and listen carefully. And so in an adverb clause of manner, a group of words will tell you how an action is done. Like I've mentioned, the boy ran as if he had seen a ghost, okay? Or the boy ran as if a dog was chasing him. So that means it tells you how the boy was running or how the boy ran, isn't it? So those group of words or the clauses are called as adverb clause of manner. We have started with adverb clause of condition, and I told you that there will be always a condition, right? A condition of how or why something is going to happen. If you study hard, I will give you a reward. That was the thing that we have discussed, and we have also discussed that there will always be the word if, isn't it? In an adverb clause of condition, you will always find the word if, okay? If you work hard, you will be able to get good results. So that is the condition. Unless you are clear with adverb clause of condition, it is very difficult for us to proceed down, because the rest of the topic that we are going to discuss is only about the types of conditionals. Okay, all comes under the adverb clause of condition, but there are 4 types of condition. They are zero conditionals, type 1 conditionals, type 2 and type 3. There are a lot of students who also get confused with 0 and type 1, because type 1 is the second number and they think that 0 conditionals will be type 1. But please know that 0 conditionals is a conditional in itself, okay? And you cannot mix that with type 1 because they bear a totally different meaning. I'll tell you, 0 conditionals are called as facts, okay? They present to us some general facts and ideas, okay? If an apple falls from a height, it falls to the ground. Nobody have to explain to you again, isn't it? Even if nobody tells you, you still know that the apple will fall to the ground if it falls from the tree. And as we know that this law of gravity, isn't it? Gravitation force is there, and that's why the apple will always fall to the ground and not to the sky. And so those are called as general facts, which we will find it and nobody has to explain to us again. And so they are the facts. The second one is type 1 conditionals. They are also called as likely conditionals, which I will explain again. Likely, that means something is likely to happen, okay, but you are not sure of that. And then the next one will be type 2 conditionals, unlikely. We cannot say that it will not happen at all, but we feel that it's so unlikely. It might not happen, but we also cannot deny that it will happen. So those type of conditionals comes under type 2 conditionals, which are also called as unlikely conditionals. And next and the last, we have type 3. It's the fourth number. Remember, it's the fourth number but type 3, okay? Why? Because 0 has occupied the number 1. And in type 3 conditionals, it is called as impossible conditionals. Why? Because it will never happen. It is impossible to happen. Okay, so these are the 4 types of conditionals under the adverb clause of condition. Remember, even if you are studying the different types of conditions, it is under adverb clause of condition. If your question says, or if your question asks you to underline the conditional clause, remember, you can underline all of this, and you do not need to specify unless the question tells you to state the type of conditionals. Okay, do not make the mistake of writing the type of conditionals. They are just asking you or asking us to underline the conditional clause, the adverb clause of condition. Okay, so all these 4 conditionals will come under adverb clause of condition. And if they do not ask the type of conditions, the question itself will mention that you have to underline or you have to point out the conditional clause, okay, and the type. Then only you will write the types, or else you will not. Okay, zero conditionals, the formula for writing a zero conditional clause is if plus simple present plus simple present. And with that, it's difficult to understand, so I'm going to explain it to you. Okay, if an apple falls, the word falls tells us that it is a simple present tense, right? Because we have discussed that in a simple present tense you can add s or es to the verb, right? And so if an apple falls from a height, comma, it falls to the ground. You do not have to use the word will again, because whether you say that or not, it will always fall to the ground. And that's why the formula is given as if plus simple present plus simple present. If an apple falls, that makes it simple present, it falls to the ground. The same word is used here again, and so this is the formula for zero conditionals. Okay, zero conditionals are facts or truths, which nobody can change it again. And the next one comes the type 1 conditionals. Okay, type 1 conditionals will be likely conditional. Okay, likely conditional, and then the formula will be if plus simple present plus will plus verb. I repeat, if plus simple present plus will plus verb. Okay, I would like you to refer it into your book. You can go to the conditionals page, that is page number 182, for your reference. You can use your book along with you while you are still listening to the explanation. Conditionals type 1 is if our team wins. Example, the example given there is if our team wins, we will go to the cinema. There is very high chance for a team to win. We cannot say it is unlikely if your team is a good team. Okay, if our team wins, we will go to the cinema or we will go for a picnic. That means going for a picnic is very likely, because when the team wins, they are surely going for the picnic. But we also cannot say that they will surely go, because we do not know exactly whether they will win the match or not, isn't it? And that is why it is called as likely conditionals. There are very high chances for this to happen, but we cannot say it unless the right time comes. Okay, there might be something that come and disturbs their time again, and even if they win, they might not be able to go, but we cannot say that they will not go. And those type of clauses are called as type 1 conditionals. I repeat again, the formula if plus simple present. If our team wins, the word wins makes it a simple present, right? Plus will plus verb. Okay, if our team wins, we will go. Will plus verb is will go, isn't it? We will go for a picnic. So there is very high chances for this team to go for a picnic, and that is why it is called as likely conditionals. And the next one is type 2. Remember, the third point is type 2. The third type is type 2, okay, not type 3. And so type 2 conditionals are called as unlikely conditionals, okay, because there is very less chance for it to happen, but we also cannot say that it will never happen at all. There are some conditions like that, isn't it? Even in our lives, you know that it might happen, but there is very less chances for it to happen in your life. And so for those kind of conditions, we call it as a type 2 or unlikely condition. You will find if plus simple past tense. I hope you know simple past. Simple past of the word go is went, isn't it? And the past participle is gone. Do not get confused between past participle and the simple past tense. Okay, both are past tense. We know that both the words are past tense, but one is simple past and the other one is past participle. If plus simple past plus would. Now the word will has been changed to would, right? Plus would plus verb, right? If I were a millionaire, I would have bought a town, or whatever you want to put there, you can use that. So there is very less chance for it to happen, so it's called unlikely, but we also cannot say that it's impossible, and that's why we call this as the unlikely. I'm going to give you the example from the book, because when you look at that, you can relate. When anytime you go through the book, you can relate to the explanations that I'm giving you. Here the example that is given is, if I had a lot of money, I would buy a big house. I repeat, if I had a lot of money, I would buy a big house. So the formula that I've given you here has been put into practice. If I had a lot of money, here is the simple past tense and would plus verb. I would buy a big house. The next example is, if I won the lottery, I would travel around the world. And I'm sure you or your parents have bought a lottery once in a while, and then you expect. But the results are very unpredictable, isn't it? There might be some of you who have bought a number of lotteries and you have never won so far. But every time you buy it, you keep expecting to get the first prize, or at least the consolation prize, isn't it? And so here the case of lottery is unlikely. We cannot say that it's 100% impossible, but there is very less chances for it. So for those kind of things, we call it as the unlikely conditional. If I won a lottery, or if I won the lottery, I would travel around the world. That is the dream of a person. Might be a person like you, 16, 17 years old. We have big dreams in this age, isn't it? And I appreciate the dreams that you have, okay? There might be very high chances for it to happen. And so let's take a look at the formula and compare the example again to see whether they have put the formula that is given or not. If I won the lottery, won is the simple past tense here, okay? Look at this. If I won the lottery, I would plus verb is given there. So they have used everything that they have given in this formula. I would travel around the world. There are a lot of students, there are a lot of people who like to travel, but there is a condition again that restricts us. That is lack of resources, isn't it? Your resources will be the money, right? So because of lack of resources, we don't get the opportunity to travel around the world. And so here in this sentence, the boy or the person here is wishing to travel around the world once he wins the lottery, okay? So the formula given is followed exactly, and this shows. Sometimes they might ask you to, the question might ask you to fill in the blanks with unlikely conditionals or type 2 conditionals, right? And for type 2 conditionals, I've given you the formula. Simple past, if will always be there. Whether I forget to mention or not, remember in a conditional clause, you will always find the word if, okay? So, if plus simple past, if I went to Delhi, I would buy a very good branded pair of jeans, example. Those are some things that you can apply it in your daily conversations too, okay? And the next point and the last point for this clause of condition are the type 3. The type 3 conditional is also called as the impossible conditional, okay? I repeat, impossible conditional, because it might be something that had already happened in the past, right? So if a thing had already happened in the past, there is no point of grading over it, because you cannot undo it again, okay? You cannot go back to the past and then relive that moment again. And so we use it for those type of sentences. Type 3 conditionals, the formula would be if plus past perfect, okay, plus would have plus verb. If plus past perfect plus would have plus verb, okay. You know who is the perfect man, right? We have been discussing it over and over again. In our previous phase of our class, we know that the Mr. Perfect is Mr. H. Mr. H is a perfect man, that's what I told you. So past perfect would be, we have only three Mr. H here in this tense, has, have and had. And so we will use the word had, okay? Had is the past perfect man. If we subdivide it again, and so we will use, if I had, okay? If I had got up early, I would have caught the bus. Remember, look at this. If I had, the past perfect comes here, plus would have. If I had if I had got up early, I would have, so would have has come into our sentence here. I would have caught the bus. Would have plus caught. Caught is the verb, right? Here, I've just mentioned verb, but I want you to know that this verb will be the past participle verb, okay? Because whenever you use the word have, has, have or had, every time you have to bring in the past participle. I have done. We don't say I have did, isn't it? Did is past tense and done is also a past tense. Remember, whenever the word has, have or had comes into a sentence, you cannot use the simple past tense. You should always go to the third form of the verb, which is also called as the past participle verb, okay? So I'm going to give you the example of this impossible conditional. If you had worked harder, okay, this is talking to you. If you had worked harder, you would have passed your exam. Please work hard so that you will not have to listen to this word or listen to this kind of advices or scoldings from your seniors and your elders next year, because you're going to appear your exam, right? HSLC is considered to be a line where everybody wants to cross. And so since you are in class 10, please study hard, or else you would hear the impossible conditional next year, because you cannot go back to class 10 and then re-give your exam. You have to wait for another year, right? You cannot reappear your exam by going back to the year that we are in right now, okay? So I'm going to read once more for all of you. This is an advice for you, okay? So that you will not have to listen to this again next year. If you had worked harder, you would have passed the exam, right? Here the formula has come into practice. If plus past perfect, if you had, okay? Had is past perfect, so it has come into this sentence. And then would have, if you had worked harder, you would have passed the exam. So with this, we have finished the explanation of adverb clause of conditions. I'm going to give you a quick recap. I've explained adverb clause of manner, which says how an action takes place. The example given to you was, he ran as if he had seen a ghost, right? And then adverb clause of manner tells us how an action is done, so that's clear with you, I'm sure. The next one is the types of conditionals. Zero conditionals are the facts and the truths that we always know, okay, and it cannot be wrong. If plus simple present, if an apple falls from a height, it falls to the ground. False is another simple present. And the next one is type 1 conditionals. It is called likely conditionals. If plus simple present plus will plus verb, right? And then the next one is type 2 conditionals, which are also called as unlikely, but we cannot say that it's 100% impossible. So we will use if plus simple past plus would plus verb. If I won the lottery, I would buy a big house, which we cannot say is impossible, but there is very less chances for it, so we call it as the unlikely. And the last one is the type 3 conditionals. We call it as the impossible conditionals, okay? Impossible conditional, if plus past perfect plus would plus have plus verb. That is the past participle verb, okay? So if you had worked harder, you would have passed the examination. And this is an advice for all of you, so that you will not have to hear again next year. And with this, we are going to wind up our class for today. Please make sure you finish the exercises given in the book. Thank you.